Well, joining me now is regular ADH TV contributor and Family First lead Senate candidate for Victoria, Bernie Finn. Bernie, I know you're running for the Senate, but we can't ignore the machinations of Victorian state politics, where, of course, you are very experienced, having spent more than 2 decades in the Parliament. John Pesciuto, I know that's a triggering name, but he's the Liberal leader down there.
Oh, yes. Is he? Is he really?
Yeah, he's in a world of pain, having falsely slurred several good women as Nazi sympathisers. He and his colleagues expelled shamefully Moira Deeming. His leadership is now under even more pressure. Can he come back from this?
Not a chance. The only reason that he woke up this morning as leader is because yesterday the brawling rabble that is the Victorian Parliamentary Liberal Party couldn't actually agree on who to replace him with. It's the only reason he has the job today. He does not have the numbers in his own right. He has less than 10 numbers, I'm told, in the party room. There's a massive 30 members in the Parliamentary Liberal Party in Victoria. I remember the days it used to be in excess of 90. So they have slipped back significantly since those days. But the only thing that has kept John Pesciuto in the job today is the fact that they could not agree on who should take his job.
Well, it's really important we talk about this, not because we want to necessarily beat up on a particular leader, but our viewers will remember it was a year ago this month that Pesciuto slurred Moira Deeming and Posey Parker, Kelly J. Keane from the UK, Angie Jones and a number of others, Catherine Deeves was amongst them, who had a rally on the steps of your parliament in Victoria called Let Women Speak, about the rights of girls and women to have privacy in their spaces and freedom in their sports, and Pesciuto slurred them as Nazi associates. Now, this sort of cancel culture, this is why it's important to talk about this, because this sort of cancel culture cannot be allowed to stand, can it?
It cannot, absolutely not. And, for the last 12 months, I have been wondering what got into his head. I know Moira Deeming. I don't know the other ladies, but I know Moira. She's certainly no Nazi. I can tell you that now. That is the furthest thing from describing her is that. I don't know what he was thinking. I suspect that he was listening to some of his left-wing colleagues in the parliamentary party. Because I had been after Moira since she replaced me as the Liberal candidate in Western Metro, and they got her. They got her, And I think it is forever to the shame of the Victorian Parliamentary Liberal Party that was allowed to occur, and that's exactly what they did. But Victoria at the moment is in a really, really bad way. We've got a government which is absolutely destroying the state bit by bit, and in fact it's all coming home to roost very soon with a budget that will be delivered by the Treasurer. It's going to be a horror budget, and then the Treasurer is leaving. So that's get ready for the Werribee by-election, folks. That's something to look forward to. And of course we have a Liberal Party, an opposition, which is just totally useless. It's totally irrelevant to life as we know it in Victoria at the moment. And it is incompetent, it is disinterested. I have absolutely no idea what they are doing there. So, Lyle, I can only say to you that what we are doing in rebuilding Family First is just so very, very important, because we need an alternative. Ordinary people, everyday people need an alternative to what is an appalling government that has absolutely destroyed the state over the last decade. And unfortunately, the Liberals are not in any position to provide any alternative anytime soon.
No, that's exactly right. And of course, John Pesciuto will head off to trial, defamation trials that have been brought against him, action by Moira and Kelly J. Keane and Angie Jones. So that'll be certainly interesting to see how that plays out over the next few months. And as you say, will he remain leader until September, when he faces those trials? And you're quite right, Bernie, about the state of Victoria. The debt there is unbelievable. I love talking to you on this show because we always get breaking news. The Werribee by-election, that is a hot tip. We'll watch out for that after the Treasurer.
That will be happening in the next 2 or 3 months. That will be happening as soon as the budget's over. Tim Pallas is doing a runner, and he is leaving us. And won't he be leaving a wonderful legacy? Somewhere in the vicinity of $250 billion debt. I mean, just
Yeah.
you could not make this up. If somebody had told me 10, 15, 20 years ago that we would have that sort of debt in Victoria, I would have thought them mad. But now it's reality, and we are going to take generations to pay that off. I
Yeah.
mean, my grandkids, possibly my great grandkids, will still be paying this debt off. That have been left us by the most atrocious government we've ever had.
Yeah, it's a form of intergenerational theft on a grand
It is,
scale. I think you've
absolutely.
got debt there in Victoria. It's greater than the total of New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmania combined.
That's exactly right.
It's an existential threat, not just to Victoria, but to the nation. So again, as you say, this is why we're rebuilding Family First. We've got to get some sense back into politics. Now Bernie, just turning to federal matters, you've said that if elected to the Senate, you'll introduce legislation to abolish Anthony Albanese's ute tax. Why is he taxing utes in the first place?
Well, he's attacking not just utes, but also family cars, wagons, and so forth. It's all a part of the climate change ideology that they're pushing down our throats. They want us to buy EVs. They want us to buy electric vehicles. Now, I've got to tell you, Lyle, I don't want an electric vehicle. I don't care how high they push the price of other cars. I don't care how low they make the price of EVs. I don't want one. I want to be able to drive more than an hour out of Melbourne without having to pump up again. This is just a part of an ideology which is destroying this nation and has the potential to do so much damage over such a long period of time. We used to have in this country, cheap, reliable power. It was one of the great advantages over everybody else. And these people are destroying it. They are destroying it. And, we are going to rely on windmills that catch fire. We're going to rely on these hectares and hectares and hectares of screens. It's just insane what these people are doing. And it just doesn't make any sense. We have enough coal. We have enough gas to provide our power supply for the next 300 years. Throw in uranium, we can talk about 1,000 years if you like. But the fact of the matter is that this government is deliberately setting out to destroy our fundamental right to have cheap, reliable power. And I think it is just arguably the most despicable thing I've seen a federal government do, and indeed could well be put into the area of treason.
Look, I agree, and it is very much an attack on families, and you're quite right to mention it's not just utes that they're taxing to try and force people to buy EVs, but it is four-wheel drive wagons. And look, as someone who was blessed to have 4 children, we had to upgrade to a wagon. Yep. We bought an old 7-seat four-wheel drive, but these days, for my family to do that, I'd be charged a surcharge because the government would want me to get an EV instead. And this financial pressure that they're putting on families is despicable. We know it's one of the big causes of family breakdown is financial pressure, and yet the government keeps piling it on.
Yep, this is in fact a tax on kids, and you can't put it any other way. And I can't begin to imagine what the future holds if we go down this track. It is just going to be horrendous. If we're going to actually tax people for having kids, where do we go from here? Yeah. I mean, it's just appalling. And I look, I'm not easily one to despair. I mean, I'm a Victorian and I was in the Liberal Party for a long time, so I'm not easily given to despair. But I just look at the future for this country at the moment, and I am genuinely fearful of what's coming. Yeah. Really, really scared.
Look, you and I both, and that's why we're involved in politics and resurrecting Family First. And you're quite right, this is a treasonous thing that they are doing. We've seen Chris Bowen, Anthony Albanese's climate change minister, out this week crowing about how he's bringing electricity prices down. Now, nothing of the sort is really happening. In the past couple of weeks, we've seen... just before we go to that, I think we've got a graph that shows just where electricity prices have gone under Labor. Just see if we can put that up on the screen. So Bowen crowing about, a price drop. It's gone up from around about $1,400 to almost $1,800 since they took office. And he's crowing about a minor reduction. This is a joke, isn't it?
And well, we're still waiting for our $275 rebate, by the way. I mean, that's another one of Albo's whoppers. But look, it is just appalling what is happening to families, to small businesses, to people who can least afford it. These I call them unreliables. Because some people call them renewables. I think they're unreliables because that's exactly what happens if we go all the way to this renewable future. We are going to have a future without power. Yeah. It's like the old story about Victoria. What did Victorians use to light their homes before candles? It was electricity, of course. It is just so wrong what they are doing, and they are deliberately going down this path, knowing full well that it will destroy the future of this nation. And it is so important that people stand up. And there are people in the Liberal Party as well who actually support this. The Victorian Liberal Party, for example, at the last state election, went to the election with a policy that was more extreme than the federal Labor Party.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Look,
extraordinary.
People don't realise this, and you're exactly right. I want to really highlight this point that it's both sides of politics that support net zero. Peter Dutton, as much as I admire him and think he's a lot better than the Albanese alternative, he has said that net zero remains coalition policy. And this is why I think it's really significant, Bernie. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen Senator Matt Canavan, who's always been banging on about the problems with net zero, but he's been joined by Renee Heath, a Victorian upper house parliamentarian from Gippsland. A lot of coal out there. It used to be a power-generating powerhouse.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
Both of these coalition parliamentarians have broken ranks and come out and criticised their side of politics. And in the case of Renee Heath, abstained from a vote that her leader, John Pesutto, required them to vote in support of more net zero in the Victorian Parliament. Both of these politicians from the coalition have said that net zero is unachievable. Now, this is pretty significant. And then you've had the former Labor MP Jenny George, union boss, saying the same thing. So there's a bit of a breakout happening, but we've still got a long way to go to free ourselves of this ideology amongst the body politic.
Well, we do have a long way to go, but it's a start. It is a start, and the fact that these people have come out and said what they've said is a step in the right direction. This is insane that net zero makes zero sense as far as I'm concerned. It is just nonsensical indeed, and we need more and more people to stand up and state the obvious, and that's what I'm hoping to do when I get to Canberra after the next election.
Absolutely, Bernie. You'll be able to stiffen the spines because I think you and I both know, a number of coalition MPs. They know this is rubbish. I've said to some privately, you guys are like you're caught up in a prison camp. You just got to rush the guards and break out of this net zero madness. But good on Renee Heath and Matt Canavan for having the courage to do that. They just need a few more. Bernie,
they do.